everybody, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra here today at C2 Tactical in Scottsdale. Could have done this one from home, but I figured I'm here, so may as well. I want to talk to you today about why I think the debate still between the classic Weaver stance, the Chapman stance, ISO, and the modern technique of the pistol are kind of misguided and based on the history of it, how we can do better.
Palm pepper spray has recently reformulated for even more effect when you bless the deserving with the hot sauce. Palm is what I use between a harsh word and a gun and encourage everyone to do likewise.
So I am well aware that I am stepping onto hallowed ground here, okay? So when you start talking about Jack Weaver and Rex Chapman and Jeff Cooper and the modern technique of the pistol, you are talking about kind of the demigods, praise be unto them, and all those things, okay? And I love history, and I love studying the historical development of handgun shooting. And I think, though, that when I see people that say, oh, okay, well, you know, Jack Weaver developed the Weaver stance out of like 1959 or so in the slap leather competitions that Jeff Cooper made super popular writing in gun magazines way back when, before he even had founded Gunsight. And then Rex Chapman took some of that and changed it a little bit, and where that came from, and when people argue for those things, and well, you only use Isosceles when you're wearing body armor and those things, I think those are misguided. So let's think about the history a minute. So if you go dig on the obscure old issues of the gun magazines way back when, you will find some discussions from Jack Weaver about how he developed the Weaver stance. And Jack, it's funny because a lot of people say, well, he really wanted this, you know, push-pull technique. And he said the first time he ever heard about that was in a gun magazine. And then he went out to actually go see it, and he was like, I guess I do push-pull there. So he didn't actually mean for it to do that. What he was doing is, before that, in the slap leather competitions, they were coming out of the holster and shooting from the hip and trying to shoot multiple large, like 18-inch balloons at 7 yards. And this technique led to a lot of misses. And Jack just thought if he put his second hand on the gun and brought the gun up to his eyes, he could actually see his sights and get more hits. And then he started crushing the competition. So kudos to him on that. And when he was asked by J.J. Ricazza, and there's some, again, you have to just go find this stuff on the internet, but asked by J.J. Ricazza before his death why he did this idea of pushing here and then the bent second elbow. So he really kind of tucked here, and really what you're talking about is pushing out with that first hand. This is classic Weaver stance stuff. Okay, elbows both stay bent, and the right hand, or the support hand, it's left for you weirdos that are right-handed, is pulling. And so why the bent elbows? And you know what Jack said to that? It's because he was injured and he couldn't get his hands out all the way here, and he couldn't extend his shoulders that far. So he kept them bent because he had an injury. Now, I didn't get any insight on where that injury came from. You know, he enlisted in the Army right at the end of World War II, or just after World War II. So I don't think he saw combat. And then he was a longtime police officer. So I don't know where he was injured, but he said that it was because of a shoulder injury, or at least an injury, that he couldn't extend his hands all the way out. And so he accommodated that for himself with this kind of position. And he even says, we have a quote from him that says, listen, nobody should duplicate my shooting position because you're not a clone of me. It's the principles that matter. That's it right there. That's important. Now, of course, what we see happen in competition shooting today, we see it happen in defensive shooting today, that when somebody's really good, other people mimic their technique, even if their technique is unique to them, even if their technique has something to do with their particular anatomy, their particular physiology. Well, everybody sees Jack winning with this, and so they go, this is the way, right? So they blade off, and then people invent things like, well, you know, he bladed off so that he was a smaller, so that he was a smaller target and all these things. It was none of what Jack wanted to do with that stuff. He said that as much. Again, this was all just to accommodate his injury so he could get the gun up and get good pressures on it, is what it was, according to him. Now, of course, one of the other of the big five, one of the others of the five legends, the five masters, right, is Rex Chapman. Now, I am still trying to figure out, I'm trying to get a good picture of Rex when he is actually shooting, because we have some of several of the masters with the gun kind of, you know, pointed near to the target so we can see. But really what Chapman did here is he took that and then he just extended the arm out. So he locks the elbow here and then rests the cheek on the elbow. And that's the change that he made. And I'm almost going to guarantee you I know why he did that. Now, I'm guessing here, okay? But my guess, my very strong guess is that he's cross-eye dominant. And that's how he adapted to that. So if Jack's here, now he could have moved over here like this. Of course, I mirror image because I'm left-handed. But instead, he just puts his hand or his cheek on his opposite bicep, and now the gun comes over to his dominant eye, which for him would be his left. Me is my left too, but since I'm showing you the gun left-handed, it's the right. And so I actually think what really went down here is Chapman took Jack Weaver's stance, which was made for an injury, and then adapted it to cross-eye dominance and used it to great success. But let's think about that now. What we're doing here is we are doing what Jack did. If we adopt the Weaver stance, we are adopting what he did without the injury that he had. And if he didn't have that injury, would he have done that? I kind of doubt it. And we've shown plenty of other videos on the channel on controlling recoil in the gun, seeing your sights, pressing the shot off, why that is. And you've seen Brian Hill and Neil and me and others teach a very kind of modern, head up, erect posture and athletic stance kind of approach. And again, why? Because I don't want to teach as a stance. I don't want to teach something that is accommodating one person's injury. I don't want to teach that which is accommodating somebody's cross-eye dominance as a general rule for everyone. That doesn't make any sense. We had a student at the ASP National Conference this year. We've had him for the last couple of years. Great guy, good shooter, but his body is just literally a wreck. I mean, he's got all kinds of anatomical issues that he can't shoot like normal people do. And I told everybody else in class, listen, we're going to do some things for scars that is going to look weird for you guys. Nobody emulate what he's doing, but listen to me while we talk about the principles, because helping him adopt the principles of, again, grip the gun as high as you possibly can on the back strap, put as much pressure on the front strap as you can, as low as you can, and that will drive your sights better while you trigger the gun without disturbing that. So that's when we would do that with him. People are like, yeah, I don't want to shoot like him, but I want to do what he is doing in terms of applying the principles. Now, why did we go ISO? In the modern police officer world, they went ISO, yes, in order to point body armor towards targets. Because when they were adopting Weaver, especially when they didn't have any side plates in their body armor, cops are getting shot here and the fatal wounds are coming in where they didn't have any body armor. Now, of course, most cops now have some side plates, or at least, some of them do have side plates here, but they are taught to keep their chest square, and the reason they're taught to keep their chest square is to point their body armor at the potential threat, so if they get shot, hopefully it lands in the ballistic shield instead of in the flesh. Okay, so they are very bladed here, and they go straight towards you like that. Now, one of the things that we say is, listen, I'm not wearing body armor, right? So I don't really have to deal with that thing, and that's not the reason that I'm going to do what I do. However, I do think that here, that when we talk head, shoulders, knees, and toes for most people pointed at the target, a natural athletic stance, when we view shooting as a martial art, as an athletic activity, then we point head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We keep our spine in good natural alignment. We get the two-handed grip on the gun that we have taught many times on the channel, and then we just bring the gun up to where we can see it. So now, am I a dead square? I'm close. What I really want here is thinking about a little bit of bend in my elbows and those things, and that is going to work generally best for most people. And so that's what we generally teach for most people. But today I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about the principle here of, I don't want to argue about, is Weaver better or is Chapman better, is ISO better? What I want to say is, what are the physiological principles that help me control the firearm best? What is it that I can do right now to best grip the gun, sight the gun, trigger the gun in order to get the best results that I can get? And we want to do that. And when we teach it, I want to teach it to the most number of students. So that is from a young, strong, fit, police academy recruit, all the way to an 80-year-old woman who is trying to defend her home. And the more people that we can accommodate from that, the better that we are. So when we say what stance is best, hey, treat it like an athletic endeavor for most people. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes towards the target, spine aligned, head upright, so we're not looking down, looking back, or any of those things, looking left, looking right. That's why if somebody is cross-dominant, so if I put the gun in my right hand and I go, oh, okay, I need to move it here, I don't teach people to move their head this way, because when I teach them to do that, it misaligns their spine. What I teach them to do is just bring the gun over to them just a little bit so that their spine stays aligned, and that generally works better. So the principles are what we're working on, not the stances, guys. So let's stop arguing about them.